Few coins in American history evoke the same sense of nostalgia, curiosity, and enduring collector interest as the Lincoln Wheat Penny. For generations, these small copper discs have been pulled from pocket change, carefully placed into cardboard folders, and passed down through families. At first glance, a worn wheat cent might seem like nothing more than a relic of a bygone era, worth only a few cents over its face value because of its copper content. Yet, for experienced numismatists and advanced collectors, the story is entirely different. Hidden within the microscopic details of the strike, the preservation of the original mint luster, and the precise chemical composition of the metal, lies a fascinating world where a single penny can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. The series began in 1909, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Brenner's iconic right-facing portrait of the 16th president graced the obverse, while the reverse featured two stylized wheat stalks flanking the denomination, a design that would remain in production until 1958. Throughout its 50-year run, the wheat penny witnessed two world wars, the Great Depression, and the post-war economic boom, meaning these coins are not just currency, but tangible pieces of American history. Today, we are taking a closer look at 4 distinct years in the Lincoln Wheat Cent series. We will explore the historical context in which they were minted, the physical specifications that define them, and the critical factors of grading, originality, and error authentication that separate everyday survivors from elite, registry quality masterpieces. As this investigation unfolds, you will understand why the vast majority of these coins serve as affordable historical keepsakes, while a select few authenticated examples reach extraordinary heights in the modern numismatic marketplace. 1941. Lincoln Wheat Penny. The story of the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny is deeply intertwined with a world on the brink of monumental change. As the United States minted these coins, the nation was emerging from the shadows of the Great Depression, while across the globe, the Second World War was already raging. Although America had not yet officially entered the conflict, the looming threat of war spurred industrial production, leading to a massive demand for everyday circulating coinage to fuel a rapidly mobilizing economy. To meet this demand, the United States Mint produced an astonishing number of pennies. The Philadelphia Mint, operating without a mint mark, the Denver Mint, utilizing the D Mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint, identified by the S Mint mark, collectively struck over 1 billion Lincoln Wheat Cents in 1941. This enormous mintage figure explains why the 1941 penny remains relatively common today, frequently turning up in inherited collections or hoards of old copper coins. However, the sheer volume of production often creates a misleading impression about rarity and value. While an ordinary, heavily circulated 1941 penny is easily acquired, finding one in pristine, untouched condition is an entirely different challenge. The standard composition for the 1941 issue was the traditional bronze alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing exactly 3.111 grams with a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. Because copper is a relatively soft metal, these coins immediately began acquiring wear, contact marks, and environmental discoloration the moment they entered circulation. Cash registers, pockets, in the natural oils from human hands quickly dulled their original brilliant finish. Experienced collectors evaluate these coins using the internationally recognized Sheldon grading scale. But for copper coinage, color designation plays an equally critical role. Professional grading services classify these pennies as brown, red-brown, or full red. A 1941 penny that has circulated extensively will naturally oxidize to a deep, dark brown, often displaying flattened details on Lincoln's cheekbone and the high points of the wheat stalks on the reverse. These brown examples, while historically fascinating, carry minimal premium. The true numismatic value emerges when examining full red examples in high mint state grades. A coin that has survived since 1941 with its original blazing mint luster intact, completely free of carbon spots or distracting abrasions, is a true survivor. Registry set competitors seek out these flawless pieces, and an authenticated 1941 penny-graded MS-67 red by a leading third-party grading service can command prices ranging from $800 to over $2,500 depending on eye appeal and market competition. Beyond condition, specialists also carefully examine the 1941 issue for known die varieties. While there are no universally famous blockbuster errors for this specific year, minor double dies and die cracks do exist. Authenticators scrutinize the lettering of Liberty and the date under magnification to detect any spread or doubling that occurred during the die-making process. However, knowledgeable numismatists always caution against confusing genuine die doubling with common machine doubling, which adds no value. Proper preservation in inert, archival quality holders is absolutely essential for anyone holding a high-grade 1941 wheat cent, as even a single fingerprint can permanently degrade a full red surface into a less desirable red-brown designation. 1946. Lincoln Wheat Penny. Moving forward to 1946, the landscape of the United States had transformed completely. The Second World War had ended in victory, and millions of American service members were returning home to a booming post-war economy. This era of peace and prosperity brought significant changes to the nation's coinage, most notably the return to the pre-war metallic composition for the Lincoln Wheat Penny. During the war years, the mint had been forced to innovate, producing the famous 1943 zinc-coated steel cents to save copper for ammunition, followed by the 1944 and 1901 pennies minted from salvaged artillery shell casings. By 1946, the crisis had passed, and the United States Mint quietly returned to the standard French bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, restoring the traditional 3.11-gram weight and the rich, familiar copper color that Americans had known before the conflict. The demand for coinage in the post-war economic expansion was unprecedented. People were buying homes, starting businesses, and purchasing consumer goods at record rates, requiring an ocean of small change to facilitate daily transactions. Consequently, the combined mintage for the 1946 Lincoln Wheat Penny across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints exceeded 1.5 billion coins. Because of this massive production run, the 1946 penny is considered a highly common date in circulated grades. You can easily find examples displaying heavy wear, rim dings, and deep brown oxidation in almost any bulk bag of wheat pennies. Yet the story changes dramatically when specialists begin hunting for perfection. High-speed production at the mints often led to worn dies and rushed strikes, meaning that many 1946 pennies left the facility with mushy details, particularly lacking sharpness in the lines of the wheat ears and the texture of Lincoln's hair. For an advanced collector, a poorly struck, uncirculated coin is far less desirable than one struck by fresh, crisp dies. When evaluating a 1946 penny, professional graders look for a razor-sharp strike combined with undisturbed original mint luster. The color, again, dictates the upper tiers of value. Finding a 1946 penny that has remained perfectly preserved, avoiding the humidity, careless handling, and improper storage that claim most copper coins, is remarkably difficult. When a 1946 penny achieves a grade of MS67 full red, indicating virtually flawless surfaces and brilliant original color, the market takes notice. These top-tier condition rarities can easily realize prices between $600 and $1,300 at auction, driven by registry set collectors who demand only the finest known examples. Furthermore, error specialists occasionally encounter intriguing anomalies from the 1946 production run, such as off-center strikes, struck-through errors, or retained cuds where a piece of the die broke away during striking. As always, authentication by respected third-party grading services is vital, as post-mint damage, such as a coin flattened by a train or altered with chemicals, is frequently misrepresented by uneducated sellers as a valuable mint error. True numismatic value in the 1946 wheat penny relies not on the year it was made, but on the miraculous circumstances required for a common coin to survive decades in an uncommon, flawless state. 1951. D. Lincoln Wheat Penny. As the calendar turned to the early 1950s, the United States was deeply entrenched in the Cold War, and the post-war economic expansion had solidified into a robust, consumer-driven society. The 1951 D. Lincoln Wheat Penny represents a fascinating cross-section of this mid-century American life. Produced at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark located squarely beneath the date on the obverse, this coin was churned out by the hundreds of millions to satisfy the needs of vending machines, parking meters, and bustling retail stores across the western and central United States. While the Philadelphia Mint produced over 284 million pennies that year, the Denver Mint led production with over 625 million pieces, making the 1951 D an incredibly accessible coin for the general public and casual collectors alike. The specifications remained the stalwart 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin alloy, weighing 3.11 grams. Denver Mint coins from this era are historically noted by numismatics for generally possessing stronger strikes compared to their Philadelphia or San Francisco counterparts. However, high mintage numbers inherently mean that quality control could occasionally slip. The true pursuit for the 1951 D involves examining the coin under high magnification to assess the die state. Specialists look for strong, fully defined parallel lines at the top of the wheat stalks on the reverse, often referred to as the wheat lines. If a coin was struck with a late-stage exhausted die, these lines will blend together, reducing the technical grade and the overall eye appeal, regardless of how shiny the coin remains. Because the 1951 D is so common in circulated grades, often encountered as a darkened, chocolate brown coin with significant wear on Lincoln's jawline and coat lapel, its value in everyday condition is merely nominal. The numismatic excitement surrounding this issue is entirely conditional. As the baby boomer generation grew up and began assembling coin collections from circulation, millions of these coins were saved, but they were often stored in standard paper envelopes or acidic cardboard albums that eventually degraded the copper surfaces, causing carbon spots or artificial darkening. Coins that managed to avoid this fate, usually preserved in original unopened bankrolls stored in climate-controlled environments, are the ones that command attention today. For a 1951 D Lincoln Wheat Penny to achieve a grade of MS67 red, it must exhibit blinding original cartwheel luster, completely unmarked fields, and a perfectly centered, hammer-like strike. When such an elite example surfaces, it becomes the target of intense bidding wars among registry set enthusiasts. Auction records for flawlessly preserved, third-party certified 1951 D cents in MS67 Plus, red can climb well into the $1,500 to $2,500 range, proving that common dates can achieve staggering valuations when their preservation borders on perfection. Additionally, the 1951 D is occasionally found with minor die varieties, such as repunched mint marks, RPMs, where the mint employee struck the D punch into the working die more than once, leaving a secondary overlapping impression. While not rendering the coin a fortune, authenticated RPMs add an exciting layer of historical manufacturing evidence that specialized variety collectors eagerly document and acquire. 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny. The investigation finally arrives at a year that holds a legendary status in the annals of United States numismatics. 1955. At a fundamental level, the standard 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny struck at the Philadelphia Mint is an incredibly common coin. The Mint produced over 330 million regular strike pennies that year, composed of the standard 3.11 gram copper alloy. Millions of these standard coins survive today in circulated brown condition, worth only a few cents, serving as affordable gap fillers for beginner albums. However, the year 1955 is famous not for its standard production, but for an extraordinary mistake that escaped the walls of the Philadelphia Mint, creating what is arguably the most famous and widely recognized error coin in American history, the 1955 double die obverse. To understand why this specific variety commands such enormous respect in monumental auction prices, one must understand how it was created. During the die hubbing process, a working die requires multiple impressions from a master hub to fully transfer the design. Between these impressions, the die must be annealed or softened by heat. In the case of the famous 1955 doubled die, the hub and the die were slightly misaligned during the second impression. This rotational misalignment resulted in a dramatic, wide spread of doubling on the obverse lettering. The words Liberty In God We Trust, and the date 1955 appeared sharply and distinctly doubled, completely separated from the primary image. It was a massive failure of quality control, yet an estimated 20,000 to 24,000 of these severely doubled coins were struck before the error was caught. Because mixing them with standard coins had already occurred, the mint opted to release them rather than melt an entire batch of coinage. Many of these dramatic errors were famously discovered in upstate New York and New England, often given out as change in cigarette vending machines. As word spread, the 1955 doubled die became a national sensation, sparking a massive public interest in coin collecting. Today it remains the ultimate prize for Lincoln Wheat cent enthusiasts. But the distinction between the standard 1955 penny and the doubled die cannot be overstated. A regular properly struck 1955 penny in MS65 red might sell for $30. In stark contrast, an authenticated 1955 doubled die obverse, even in heavily circulated brown condition, commands well over $1,000. If an exceptionally preserved mint state example of the double die is verified by a top-tier grading service, showing pristine red luster and sharp details, the value easily skyrockets to between $30,000 and $50,000, and sometimes much higher depending on the specific preservation and market timing. Because the financial stakes surrounding this particular coin are so extraordinarily high, the 1955 double die is also one of the most heavily counterfeited coins in the world. Unscrupulous individuals have spent decades attempting to artificially create this error. Some use a process known as spark erosion, while others simply alter standard 1955 pennies. Inexperienced buyers often mistake common machine doubling, a flat, shelf-like appearance caused by a loose die shifting during the strike, for the true, rounded, and distinct hub doubling of the genuine article. For this reason, professional experts and specialized grading services vehemently warn that no premium should ever be paid for a 1955 double die unless it is permanently housed in a tamper-evident holder from a recognized, independent authentication company. Buying this coin raw or uncertified from an unverified source is considered one of the most dangerous risks in numismatics. The immense chasm in value between a regular 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny and the 1955 double die perfectly encapsulates the philosophy of advanced coin collecting. True rarity is rarely determined by age alone. Instead, it is born from the precise convergence of historical manufacturing anomalies, absolute verification of authenticity, exceptional preservation of original surfaces, and a sustained, relentless demand from the collecting community. Whether examining a 1941, a 1946, a 1951D, or the legendary issues of 1955, the most important tools a collector can possess are not magnifying glasses or price guides, but rather discipline, patience, and a deep understanding of the subtle details that separate everyday pocket change from genuine numismatic masterpieces.